So, step one, who's the host of this podcast?
I figured we kind of just default to you since you have the most experience.
Yeah.
So why don't you kick us off? Give us some intros.
Sure. Well, experience doesn't mean skill, but I'll take it. Well, we don't have a name for this podcast either, which is good. So that's actually, I think, a strength because we are just, we're just experimenting. We're just kind of figuring it out.
No bounds.
What's that?
No bounds. No boundaries.
No boundaries. No limitations either. Like it started with Thursday beach workouts, and that kind of morphed and evolved, and met Ryan, obviously knew Josh, and when we started hanging out and like just moving our bodies and like growing and challenging ourselves, now we're sitting here talking about a lot more things that will happen in the future. So anyway, a lot more to get into, and I'm stoked for it. But yeah, dude, let's go around and like we'll introduce ourselves, starting with the greatest mustache in the group. Ryan, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from Texas. I moved here 9 years ago from Costa Rica. Spent 10 years down there, primarily in real estate investing, and I would like to surfing and just trying to live a life that I thought would be fulfilling. But everything has a change. It's inevitable, and I was feeling a new calling to just go in a different direction and moved from Costa Rica back to Florida, and got back into real estate here. And as I continued to grow individually, started feeling some change there from a health, mindful, and spiritual standpoint, and started diving a little bit deeper into bettering myself in all those ways.
Dude, we got so much to talk about, by the way. Like I want to ask you a lot of questions, which we will, but yeah, man, so good. You're a stud. Josh.
All right. So I guess my full-time gig is video production company, but as Brian and I talk about a lot, neither of us are really defined by what we do, and I think Ryan, same thing. Like, what we do does not define us. It's more about how we live our lives and how we interact with people. So yeah, Brian and I have been sharing the studio space for almost 2 years now.
Yeah. It's been a year and 6.5 months and 4 days.
Counting down the days till it's done.
Till we have to renew.
Yeah.
Can't stand this guy. No, I'm kidding. It's literally the opposite.
But no, my passion is telling people stories, telling my story, and also inspiring other people to tell their story and inspiring people to chase their passion. Yeah. I think we're all kind of on that similar wavelength. Like, we're very grateful for the life that we have. I think everything comes from a place of gratitude, like we've talked about before, and we want to share that with as many people as possible. And we don't have anything figured out by any means. We're still figuring it out. I'm still figuring business out. I'm still figuring life out. I'm still figuring relationships out. I'm still figuring everything out. But I think that something like this, where we can come together and talk about those things openly and have those discussions, is something that I'm super excited for. So to sum myself up, really someone who's passionate about life, passionate about doing things that excite me, and passionate about things like this community. I was telling Brian yesterday, I was like, I'm super excited for tomorrow morning. Like, I can't wait to the day that this is our full-time job. Just being with people that we enjoy to be around, talking about things we want to talk about. Like, I love producing videos, but a lot of my job is producing videos for brands that maybe don't align with my values, and it's like I feel like I'm not doing something. But when I do this, and when I see other guys get inspired, when I see other guys coming towards us, like, that's what really excites me and gives me drive in life. So
yeah, man,
more of this,
dude. More of that for sure. More life. I mean, we should speak about the importance of like having a community, and not just a community, but one that actually empowers you, encourages you, challenges you, in positive ways, because we've all been a part of communities that weren't so healthy for us. So yeah, I mean, I can attest to. I'll just like confirm that where.
Do you want to intro yourself too?
Yeah, I was going to, Josh. I was going to. But yeah, I mean, father, husband, son, brother, friend. Like that's who I am. It's my identity. I'm loved, and so my goal is to like share love with the world. Help people feel that and encourage them to become more the person they were made to be. I do that with coaching. I do that with content creation. And so, yeah, I mean, quit playing baseball, got into corporate world, just didn't feel aligned. I was working in pharma. And I didn't have a community like this or like brothers and just like a close-knit group of friends. So I was just like severely lacking that, and I did feel empty. And then when that transition happened, I've told him before, Josh, like teaming up and doing our co-working creative studio space completely changed the trajectory of my life. Like I told you that when we were on the grass the other day. Like I don't probably tell you enough, but I said, like, you've had the most impact on my life in my adult life, which is far out, you know. So you are someone who ask great questions. You listen more than you talk, for the most part. But that's helped me because I've had to grow so much in that space or that, you know, part of my life, because I'm someone who loves talking and I'm a people guy. I want to make people feel good, but I often like don't ask myself good questions and take a step back to just listen. So with that being said, I love to listen too, but open it up to like maybe. So, you know, you mentioned, Ryan, like, I mean, dude, your story, I can't wait to get into that, whether it's now or later, but yeah, just the transition to maybe you're looking for something more, like you were in Costa Rica, moved back, and, you know, you're still in real estate, obviously, but something drew you to create space for guys here in Sarasota to move together and to work out. So obviously brotherhood or community relationships is a big deal to you. Can you maybe speak about the importance of that in your life?
Yeah, sure. I think a lot of it kind of boiled down to just spending a lot of my 20s, even you could consider into my early 30s, around individuals that didn't necessarily have the type of impact that I was seeking. And it originally started with myself. I don't know that I was necessarily seeking it out. I just happened to put myself in a community that lended itself very easily towards doing all of the wrong things. And as I started to do the work on myself and started to grow individually, I think that's when I started to feel the desire to say, you know, where are more like-minded men or even women out there that I can surround myself with to continue to allow myself to grow both individually but also within a communal standpoint, and to be inspired. I mean, and then to aspire to inspire others. And I think that's the basis of it. I think there's this primal gravity to be within this tribal setting and to draw individuals in that provide comfort to you and can provide a container and a space that allows you to be the best version of yourself.
It's good.
Love that.
And ideally, it's so good. Ideally, like those types of communities will grow and enlarge and expand, and then kind of like, in a way, ripple out into the unhealthier communities, and like, basically like that image of like pulling them up.
Yeah.
You know, it's not so much like trying to make it to the top. It's like, no, we're gonna rise together, and make healthy choices together, find alignment together with our relationship, with higher power, with each other, with our purpose. And then help others find the same thing. Because to your point, like, being in community is awesome, and being connected and comforted by others is awesome, but it can be unhealthy. So our mission is obviously to do that in a very positive way.
Absolutely.
Like college, for instance. Like, there's certain circles where like the comfort is like if you're doing like the partying and like just all the stuff that comes with it.
Yeah.
So obviously I think we are trying to strike a good balance of like, let's enjoy ourselves, let's keep growing, let's make healthy decisions, like let's create. I mean, what we're finding is people want to hear stories. To Josh's credit, like people want to hear stories. So he's inspired so many people, including myself, to like be more about storytelling, because it invites people into your life, and then you can relate, and then they can be transformed by a story, not so much by information, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and people are definitely longing for that now more than ever, I think. I think we've noticed it just from the reactions that we've had to people, and just our own reactions too, of like, we all clearly wanted something like this and we're craving. So that's why Brian and I got the space together. Like, yeah, we both needed a space, but we could have gotten our own individual co-working spaces, but we wanted to work together, to collaborate together. And same thing with you and Zach. Like, you guys obviously had this amazing friendship, and we kind of merged both of our friendships together because we were all craving something a little bit more. And I think just the response that we've had already shows the craving that a lot of people have for that sense of community. And I think with the beach workouts, like, it's cool that workouts is kind of the entryway, because it's like, okay, if you're willing to work out, if you're willing to sacrifice some time to better yourself that way, then you're probably in that trajectory of being aligned with this community. But for me, the fitness is just the baseline of it. Like, that's where it starts, and the byproducts of that are what's way more important to me, of that community, that brotherhood, that bond. And without getting over dramatized, I think that does push to changing the world, and it starts very simply with a group of guys wanting to work out, wanting to better themselves. But we build this community, we build the community of Sarasota. People start noticing that. I mean, social media, for all its flaws, has a lot of great potential too, where
Huge.
People see this community that's about living healthy, that's about treating their wives with respect, that's about treating their fellow human with respect, that's about loving other people. Like, that is the message that we're cultivating here, and that message can spread as far as it possibly can. It can spread to the whole world.
Yeah, buddy.
That's what excites me.
If you want to change the world, change yourself, right?
That's it.
What's the Rumi quote? I know you know it, but it's yesterday I was clever, I wanted to change the world.
Yeah.
But today I'm wise, so I'm going to change myself. And that's really it. I mean, it's cliche to say if you want to change or be the change you want to see in the world, but it doesn't take away from the fact that that's the actual truth. The principle is true.
Yeah.
Like, as we change, which is, again, the power of a synergistic group collectively full of individuals who are pursuing their God-given potential and identity. So growing, like, if you imagine yourself as this container, which could be infinite, it could be endless, right? But you're also like smaller than your container. So as we grow, as we become more us, like, that's what I envision, is like you're extending and you're expanding to the container, right? So you're becoming like more full of of who you are. So that right there individually then inspires the group. You bring the group up, you sharpen the other guys, the guys and girls and men and women, and you ultimately are making the world a better place, starting with yourself and your internal home, and then your relationships, your wife, your husband, your friends, and community at large.
Yeah.
So what was the original desire with the Thursday? Like, because I wasn't there for the first one. How did it start?
It's funny enough, I was just going out there solo.
Yeah. So you'd go out there, swim, lift, maybe.
Yeah.
Run.
Yeah, and a few
Came
people
and ruined his serenity.
The thing is, Ryan just wanted to get away and have some me time on the beach, and now we're just crashing this party week after week.
That's it. But that's really just how it started. I was doing all of these things on my own, and there was just a little bit of an outreach. Hey, this looks amazing. Would you have any interest in me coming and joining? And then, Zach started gaining an interest in it, and Cam and some of the other guys. And then I think it just it created an opportunity for men to come together.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the conversation that you just had. Sometimes it takes a gentle nudge for an individual to take that first step.
Yeah.
I think, at least in my personal experience, not all men or individuals for that matter, are given the tools to be able to make change from within. We have a society of a lot of toxic masculinity, growing up in environments where, we're told not to share our emotions and to bury things down deep. And a lot of individuals are just doing the best that they can. A lot of men are doing the best that they can, and they don't know how to take that first step, even how to start to work on themselves. And I think the biggest thing about providing a community is like this is that if we can get those individuals who are maybe struggling to come out and to see this group of men who are putting in the work individually, but then also collective. It's like okay, these guys are kind of leading the way. I think it opens up the door for an individual to take a little closer look in the mirror and say, you know what, this is how I can do this.
Yeah. And I think we're also having those conversations that those kind of people desire to have, but maybe it's impossible to bring up in the group of friends that are out drinking, talking about, oh, this girl, that, or like the very work was good today. Like I made this much money last week. Like getting away from those conversations and getting more to the conversations of like, how's your mental health? Like, how's your mind? How's your love? How's your relationship? Like those kind of conversations.
What are you struggling with?
What are you struggling with?
Like, how's your marriage?
Yeah.
It's great being a dad, but what are some things that you feel you've had to sacrifice?
Right. Yeah, and how are you holding up with all that?
Yeah.
I mean, I've to your point too about just the culture and like the pressure and maybe even limitations of like our cultures is like whether it's obvious or just like the perceived, like just bury it, doesn't matter, because if it's like been told to you, like that's, you just suppress that stuff, or don't talk about your feelings, don't talk about this, whether it's stated obviously or just like that's the movements of the culture. They're both like unhealthy, whether it's perceived or obvious. That's what I'm trying to get at. So it's definitely needed. And to your point, I think when we embody it, like when you put yourself out there, you open the door and you invite people to do the same in their life, and then it's healing individually but also collectively, because you're bringing people into that place of be real, be authentic, and like, be who you are, flaws and all. I was gonna say how grateful I am to have, like, Josh and I work together at the creative studio, and like I've had times where I literally, like, midday I went and like cried. I had a mental breakdown a few times, and I know people don't have that ability, and this guy's over here like being there for me, asking a question, reminding me of certain things that like need to be said in those moments where it's okay, like it's natural to feel this. It's actually okay not to feel like you have to keep it together 24/7. Like it's okay to be who you are and feel what you feel. And so that's awesome. Like that's one of the biggest benefits of real community, is you don't have to like shy away from natural human emotions. So I just figured I'd share that too, because it's powerful.
Yeah, I think authenticity is definitely one of the foundational pillars of like what we want to create here. Like people just to be themselves, no matter how weird. Like Brian and I are both super weird. Like
very.
You might look like a cool normal guy on Instagram, but he's a weird dude. And I'm a weird dude too. Like expressing that and like being able to express that and being able to express emotions. Like guys don't get to do that in a lot of situations.
Yeah. I think it was Sebastian. He was saying, back to your point about like just what we're trying to like create here locally, is he was like, I didn't even think like this really, something like this existed, because all of my friend group or old friends, like they're still doing the same things, like partying, and like to Josh's, what he said earlier, like here's what I'm doing, like the drama within that whole scene of stuff. But we're talking more so about people, yes, because we're interested in people, but we're more about like ideas, like how can we have those meaningful conversations. So I think it's cool when I hear that from guys who I believe he is in Sarasota, but he was just like, dude, this is awesome that this even exists.
Yeah.
And it is from a place of love too. I could tell with the group is like we're challenging and pushing each other, but it's not from a place of like this like competition where like I'm better than you, and like it's like that old school traditional thing. It's not that at all. It's more like, no, like let's push ourselves to go beyond ourselves, because then that's what we'll find like that catalyst for growth outside of this workout, because you have a lot more than you think within you. And so it's about how can we pull each other up like that. So
yeah, I want to be able to celebrate everyone's wins. Yeah. And if I'm feeling something from your growth in a negative way, that's a moment where I need to stop and say, okay, why am I feeling this feeling?
Right.
You know, whether it's from a place of insecurity or ego, you know, where is that stemming from?
Yeah.
And then have a conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. I think the important thing about all this too is like we have no idea where it's going.
No.
Like we have no idea what it's called. We don't know what this is going to be, and I think that's the exciting part. And maybe to wrap this up, I think we kind of just have the core foundational values of authenticity, of passion. Like we all want to live a passionate life. We all want to do something meaningful, do something purposeful. We want to be involved in our community. We want that community to reach far and wide. Mm-hmm. I think we're all super grateful for what we have in this life that we live. And we just want to share that. And we want to be a resource for other guys to come and experience their full potential. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I have no idea what it's going to be. We're talking about getting a physical space. I think there's something super important about physical spaces. I mean, as Brian and I have experienced over the last year and a half, like having a brick and mortar space to kind of have this creative energy, have this love, have this, and we talk about only good vibes at the building. Like we don't, like guys are so quick to, oh hey, nice mustache, you look like an old man, like so quick to like make fun of each other.
Is that how you feel?
Yeah, it is.
It's so true though.
But just creating this environment of encouragement. Guys don't give other guys encouragement enough because it seems like that's what your mom does. Like she tells you good job. Like that's not a place for men, but I think also being fathers too, like that's important to know how to share our emotion and how to be authentic with each other. But super excited, grateful for you guys.
Yeah.
Super grateful for this friendship and
likewise. Yeah. Feelings mutual. Yeah.
How do you wrap these up, man?
To your point, I don't. I just say,
Just
well,
keep on talking.
thanks for listening and watching. But I think just the importance, I want to double down on that, is like start doing things from the best intentions possible, and then that's when the magic happens. Like just start doing things, and I think naturally, like if you're in motion, to tweak it in the right direction more and more is much easier than if you're just like stagnant and you're afraid to put yourself out there or make mistakes, or be vulnerable or try something new. So I think you guys embody that so well. It's rubbing off on me super well, and we're gonna hopefully, which I know, just continue rippling this mission out to the community at large. So yeah, a lot more to get into, but I think that's a pretty good end.
I think we nailed it for having zero plan. That's
So
pretty good.
Off the cuff.
Heck yeah. Let's go sauna and plunge.
Let's do it.
Sauna plunge.
All right. That's the episode. Peace.
Peace.
Boom.
Thank you, buddy.